Welcome to Wines We Drink, a podcast for wine lovers and learners. I'm Charlotte Norsworthy Varnum, and together with my counterpart Keith Herndon, we'll be exploring a new wine each week. Keith is a lover of wine, and I'm a learner of wine, and we hope you'll sip along with us. Hello, and welcome back, everyone. I'm Charlotte Varnum, co-host of this podcast, Wines We Drink, and I am super excited for our first episode in this milestone season, Season 5. I'm joined by my co-host Keith Herndon, a certified sommelier who will be at my side for our wine journey today in our next 11 episodes.
Hello, Charlotte, and yes, we're back. I must confess that when we started this little adventure all the way back in the summer of 2021, I did not expect to be sitting here in my wine kitchen for Season 5.
I can't believe it either. It's sort of been surreal, to be honest. We started Wines We Drink coming out of the pandemic. Nothing really felt normal. And now we feel so far removed from that. Now this show is a natural part of our summers. And I'm thrilled to be here with you again for another summer of drinking some great wine and talking about it.
Well, Charlotte, we ended Season 4 all the way back last August with a wonderful French Pinot Noir from the Sancerre region. That was definitely a high note of the season last year, but I think you'll agree with me on this. The wines that we have planned for this season is our best lineup yet.
I totally agree. Listeners, you have to stick with us this summer of all summers. You're going to be in for a treat. The wines are going to be amazing. And before we get too far into talking about this season, though, and what to expect, we really have a lot to catch you up on.
Yeah, Charlotte, you're right about that. I'm just going to have to start with the Taste Awards.
Yes.
They have been so good to us. We've been finalists 5 times, including this year.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And a winner twice, which was last year when we captured Best Food or Drink Podcast and Best Lifestyle Podcast. So we gathered up our spouses and went to Beverly Hills in March to celebrate.
Oh, it was such a great trip. It was such a celebration indeed. I mean, you can't go wrong, right? With parading on the red carpet at the Writers Guild Theater in Beverly Hills. It was a moment.
I never expected that I would ever be on a red carpet anywhere, let alone in Beverly Hills. So listeners, if you haven't seen our photos from that wonderful night, you got to please go out to Instagram or LinkedIn and just give them a peek. Okay, my co-host here, she is absolutely stunning in those photos.
That is very sweet of you. I will say we both cleaned up really nice. Okay.
Well, Charlotte, as much fun as we had at the Taste Awards, I'm not even sure that really qualifies as our biggest update.
You're right.
After all, we have a new book. And that's called Wine Conversations, Exploring Meaning, Mystery, and Myth. And it hit the bookstores in January of this year.
I mean, we are officially multimedia, people. It's crazy. Getting that book out was a big deal for you. And I'm so happy to have served as the book's editor to really help bring your vision to fruition. Everyone, if you haven't gotten a copy yet, please go and grab one from Amazon or through our local online distributor, Neighborhood Books. Keith engaged in deep conversations with 16 wine industry experts, and we've compiled them into this volume that really explores all facets of the wine business, from growing grapes and making wine to serving and promoting it while still keeping it in that familiar Wines We Drink conversation style.
Yeah, thanks for being such an awesome editor. You really kept me on track. It was a pretty tight timeline. We were doing the podcast last summer and doing this book at the same time, and we didn't really tell anybody that we were multitasking then. It was an engrossing project. It took a lot of time and effort to bring it together in its final form. We certainly want to thank the 16 experts who agreed to be part of the book. And listeners, here's the kicker. Our book won silver in the Nonfiction Book Awards.
It did, Keith. That is so cool to me. The content turned out to be so compelling, and we decided to leverage that material and use Wine Conversations as the foundation to build this summer season of Wines We Drink. All of the wines we're featuring this summer are related somehow to the interviews from the book. So some very directly, and others are more indirect, but we're going to be incorporating a few sound bites here and there from Keith's interviews throughout most of the episodes.
Well, Charlotte, I think it's time that we move on from discussing our plans for the moment and get on with actually opening some wine and talking about it. That's what our listeners are here for.
I mean, by all means, let's go ahead and officially get this season underway. Can you tell everyone what's up first?
Well, I like to start off our seasons with an easy sipping, affordable wine. For the last 2 seasons, we began with some fantastic Italian Proseccos. This year, we're headed to the Western Cape of South Africa for a different spin on a fan favorite varietal, and that is Sauvignon Blanc.
This is a fantastic bottle, and I think our listeners are really going to like it a lot. You know, you mentioned we've opened the past 2 previous seasons with Prosecco, and while Sauvignon Blanc isn't usually thought of as a bubbly wine, the makers of this bottle have interjected just some fizz before sealing the bottle. So the bottle we're drinking today has a slight effervescence, right? Not a full bubbly, but it definitely has some sparkle to it. So Keith, could you pour us some glasses?
Happy to. Let's get this. This is a screw top bottle, and you can kind of hear that going there. So allow me to pour glass number 1.
You kind of heard that fizz too when you
Oh, it does have a
unscrewed
nice
it.
little mousse.
Okay, yeah, on the top.
Going there.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, there's yours. Let me pour mine. This is just a really interesting take on a Sauvignon Blanc, right?
And with the fizz, you know, as a reminder for listeners, anything that's bubbly, you don't swirl it, right? That's what the bubbles are for.
That's right.
So you should already be getting some great aromas when you're sniffing. But when you take that first sip, man, this is such a delightful summer treat. This is one of my favorites that you've shown me and that the folks at Tapped have shown. Before we talk more about this specific wine, Keith, could you explain to our listeners how you learned about this wine?
Well, as we just mentioned, you know, our selections this season are related to our interviews from our book, Wine Conversations. Todd Hurt, the proprietor of Tapped Athens Wine Tasting Market, who is also a certified specialist of wine, is featured in the book, and he mentioned this wine as an example of a bottle that incorporates a lot of what people are seeking out in today's wine market. Let's let him explain that briefly.
To give you a kind of a good example of what's kind of new and upcoming and bright, we got a really cool Sauv Blanc from South Africa called Salty Blonde, and it kind of combines all the cool things. It is only 80 calories per glass. It's only 8% alcohol versus 12, and it's also sparkling. So it kind of throws all the fun things into one bottle, and it's affordable. It's less than $20 a bottle.
And so you're seeing people really wanting something like that
I can't keep it in stock.
So as you just heard Todd say, this wine's label is Salty Blonde from South Africa. And from that list of attributes he tossed out, it's a wine that does seem to have a lot of what today's wine drinkers are looking for.
You know, absolutely. The label is a collaboration of importer Baggio Cru and the French wine giant Cordier Excel. The grapes are sourced from organic vineyards nearly 1,000 feet above sea level on the Western Cape of South Africa in the Stellenbosch region. The cool climate and clay limestone soil contributes to a really highly aromatic wine. It's also a wine that's influenced by sea breezes and coastal fog. You know, it just has a lot of terroir going for it.
Absolutely has a great story behind it. And it's a wine with a nice pedigree for sure. It's also made by a woman winemaker. And in reading over her production notes, Aurora Winter acknowledged how challenging it is to develop a lighter style South African Sauvignon Blanc. But she added, quote, "We've considered every element as it relates to agriculture, biodiversity, and high-quality ingredients to perfect Salty Blonde."
Yeah, I've just been sipping away here, and, you know, they've taken a lot of factors into account. You know, there's a bit of technology in play as well to bring its alcohol by volume down considerably. You know, first, the juice is fermented to no higher than 11.5% ABV. And then it goes through what they describe as an advanced centrifuge system. And essentially that system spins out enough alcohol to bring that down so they can achieve a 9% alcohol by volume, right? And that's what they bottle it at, right? So it's really interesting. The process helps preserve flavor and before a very fine carbonation is added, which you mentioned earlier. They add that on the day of bottling, and that enhances even a little bit more of the aromatic qualities of the wine.
It really helps to allow for a light, bright finish, which is just so cool to see all of the science behind it. And there's another quality to this wine that Todd mentioned that makes this bottle attractive to a lot of wine drinkers today. It's low cal.
Yeah, yes, it is. I mean, Sauvignon Blanc, especially from a cool climate, is a low sugar grape to begin with, and this one is fermented bone dry. It has less than a gram of residual sugar, and they really promote heavily on the label and on a bottle tag as well that it only has 80 calories per serving.
Wow, so we're talking about a low alcohol and a low calorie wine with a bit of effervescence that wouldn't mean anything if this bottle didn't deliver on taste, though. And I'm happy to report, as we've been sipping, that it does.
Yeah, Sauvignon Blanc has become such an important varietal in the wine industry. I mean, the most recent data I found showed that Sauvignon Blanc was the only varietal among the top 10 that is growing in both value of sales and overall volume, right? I point that out to illustrate that consumers who like Sauvignon Blanc have a lot of options.
It's a good point. So let's talk about why Salty Blonde's flavor profile makes it a good option for our listeners who like this varietal. While we've been talking, I've been continuing to sip. We know it tastes great. There's some super fresh lemon, lime, citrus, grapefruit notes that really grab your nose right from the start, from that light effervescence. And it just keeps getting better as you keep sipping.
Yeah, Charlotte, I mean, you're spot on. I mean, those citrus notes quickly combine with that grassy, green, herbaceous notes that let you know right away that you're enjoying a Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, it's familiar, but I like how those green notes on the nose really turn into those tart green apple flavors when you start to sip it. There's also some wonderful minerality and salinity coming through.
Those are great observations, and I'll add here that my favorite thing about this bottle of Sauvignon Blanc is its classic finish. Okay, by that I mean those notes of lemongrass that I like to find in a bottle of this varietal are present in a big way. Those classic notes of lemongrass and its bright acidity, bring this bottle home for me in a truly satisfying way.
Absolutely. I mean, we are in total agreement on this. Salty Blonde is a winner not only for its low alcohol and its low calorie approach, but it's also because we like its taste. I mean, honestly, this would be a winner even if it was among the standard par of alcohol by volume and calories to other Sauvignon Blancs. So what is this one going to cost then?
Well, first, let me tell our listeners that we certainly like this wine better than a reviewer from Wine Enthusiast who described it as having a, quote, austere character. But it gets 3.9 out of 5 stars from over 40 consumer ratings on Vivino. And those reviews are more in line with, I think, how we see this bottle. Moreover, to your question about price, Salty Blonde is a fantastic value proposition. Our price points this season are going to cover a wide range, and we're going to feature a few pricey bottles this year, right?
Yep.
But we're starting the season with a bottle that you can easily find for under $20. Most likely for around $15, which is what I paid for this one. And also another note for consumers to be aware of when they're shopping for this wine, it's non-vintage, meaning that it's blended from several recent harvests, so you won't find this wine with a vintage year on the label.
So when you find it, you'll have a wine that checks all of those boxes that Todd mentioned, and at that price, it's certainly going to be on my list of party wines. Set out some crackers with some boursin, shallots and chive cheese to pair with this wine. I mean, nothing can be simpler to get your pool party started.
That's a great cheese pairing suggestion. That crumbly cheese with those shallots and chives work nicely with the herbaceous notes of this wine. I also like it with a soft goat cheese, but carrying through with your party theme, Sauvignon Blanc in general is a great wine to pair with a simple green salad, cold seafood. So for a party with this wine, I would suggest offering your guests some cold pill shrimp, and that would just be a fantastic selection, and that's what we have today.
I'm from the coast. I grew up with peel and eat shrimp, so this is certainly a wonderful companion for a crisp, acidic Sauvignon Blanc like Salty Blonde.
Well, let's enjoy a few bites and some sips.
I would say so.
You know, if you recall a few minutes ago, we talked about the lemon citrus notes from this wine. Well, think about how we typically eat, cold shrimp. We squeeze a bit of lemon juice over them. That the same philosophy applies here. I'm going to get some lemon here, and we're going to squeeze a little bit on the shrimp and have a sip of the wine and see what you think.
I mean, just like you said, the citrusy nature of this wine and that hint of salinity, it all works so well with that cold shrimp, that bright lemon. It's a perfect pairing.
If you're looking for other suggestions for your pool party, this wine pairs nicely with oysters as well as grilled chicken.
Excellent. Oh my gosh, I'm getting hungry. Early in the episode, we caught you up on what's happened since we ended season 4. We've been up to a number of things. And we talked about our exciting book project that we launched back in January, which is going to play a big part in this summer's season 5.
Yes, I'm so pleased with how the book turned out. And there's so much content that lends itself to the very things we talk about on this show. So let's dive into how we're planning to use our book, Wine Conversations, with our show this summer when we return from our break.
Yep, let's take a short break. I'll have some more shrimp and some more SB, and we'll be back in a moment.
And that stands for Salty Blonde and Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hello again, everyone. We are back from our break, and we are now in the final segment of the show that we call The Finish.
Yeah, I've explained this before, but for our new listeners, let me tell you what we mean by the finish. Just like you want a great wine to linger on the palate long after you swallow, we want the end of our episodes to linger with you long after you stop listening to us, right? So a couple of seasons ago, we started calling the end of our show The Finish. We'll use this segment in some weeks to talk about wine style. Some weeks we'll talk about food, and some will just be a wide range of wine-related topics.
That's right. And so today we want to use this time to talk a bit about the great episodes that we have planned for this milestone season, our 5th season.
Yeah, as we've already mentioned, our episodes this season will be related to content from our book, Wine Conversations, Exploring Meaning, Mystery, and Myth. And that was published back in January. The book is a continuation of my wine journey that has been one of discovery. And thank you, Charlotte, for coming along with me as the book's editor. And from that perspective, I think you understand how personal the book project was for me.
Absolutely. I mean, clearly it was a passion project. You have included interviews from experts that you've met on your trips and experts you've connected with in other ways. And they represent the many aspects of wine, including winemaking, viticulture, wine science, wine education, retail, service. I mean, it's quite a compilation, and while I was the editor, I was excited to dive in even deeper into the book as we use it to build content out for this season of Wines We Drink.
Yeah, I mean, you put the book in the context of some of my travels, which is an important part of how I discover wines. My wife and I spent a wonderful week cruising Portugal's Douro River aboard the Amaduro last summer. So we'll be drinking an example of a wonderful red blend we found there, and we'll explore the conversations I had with the ship's sommelier, a delightful woman who is so passionate about her country's wine. The book includes a conversation with a Cornell viticulturist, and we'll dig into her comments as we revisit my trip to New York's Finger Lakes by drinking one of that region's exceptional Rieslings, right?
Over the course of these upcoming episodes, we'll be featuring 3 of the industry's important Black figures, including Phil Long of Longevity Wines, Brene Royal, an accomplished vineyard manager, and Tanya Pitts, a San Francisco sommelier and writer at large for Wine Enthusiast.
Yeah, we're going to be featuring wines from 2 iconic Napa wineries as we interviewed the winemaker at one and the proprietor of another. We also included one of California's leading advocates for organic wine production, a gentleman who's been at it for over 4 decades. I mean, he's a legend, right? We'll feature some wines related to the educators and sommeliers we feature in the book, and we're going to delve into some of those mysteries and myths the title references, including that pesky questions, screw tops or corks? I mean, we had a screw
had a
top
screw
bottle
top
today.
You might be able to take a hint at how we feel about that, but we'll see what the experts have to say too. I mean, are you sure we can get all this in over the remaining 11 episodes that we have? It seems like we have quite the ambitious agenda for this summer.
Well, it's our milestone 5th season after all. We're going to try to get it all in.
Right you are, and I'm looking forward to sharing the wines we'll be drinking this summer with our audience and hopefully helping them discover something new along the way.
I'm also excited about you taking on a slightly new role with your co-host duties this summer. We're going to put your culinary talents to use to bring some great pairings to the table. About half, maybe a little bit more than half of our episodes, we're going to introduce Chef Charlotte.
Oof.
Allow me to introduce Chef Charlotte today, right?
Well, thank you. Hello, everyone. Good to meet you. I'm excited to bring that aspect of my game this season. For those of you who maybe know me in my personal life, you at least know that you're used to seeing some of my kitchen creations, and I'm really thrilled to incorporate that passion and that hobby into this show.
I'm one of those who's been following you as you post on Instagram, as you cook your way through the Dolly Parton cookbook, right? So much fun.
It is a lot of fun. I've been having so much fun cooking my way through Dolly Parton's cookbook. I've been posting some videos. And so we kicked off our new season today with a bargain of Sauvignon Blanc. So Keith, can you tell our listeners where we're headed in our second episode next week?
Yeah, next week's bottle is from Phil Long, who we just mentioned. We're going to explore his sparkling rosé, and I'll go ahead and say it now. It's an affordable gem.
We're sticking with the affordability for now. Bum, bum. That's our finish for today's first episode of Season 5. I am still finding it hard to believe that our little show has made it this far. We really couldn't do it without the support of you, our loyal listeners. And if you're just now finding us, you can listen to all 48 episodes from Seasons 1 through 4 on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can also find a complete episode list for all of our seasons at our website, wineswedrink.com.
Yeah, what a wonderful time I've had with you today, Charlotte, drinking this wine together and laying out our plans for this upcoming summer season. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope that you'll be with us next week. Bring along some friends, right? Wine is better when it's shared.
Amen to that. I'm already looking forward to next week. So cheers, everyone.
Yes, thanks, everyone. Until next week.
Thanks for listening to Wines We Drink. Listen to our other episodes anywhere you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Wines We Drink, and check out our episode guides at wineswedrink.com. Cheers.